The Vast of Night has been released digitally a couple of days ago on Amazon Prime. First film directed by Andrew Patterson, and what a debut. It's mostly been described as a science fiction film online, but I feel that that description does not do it proper justice. The film takes place in the 1950s in rural America over the course of one night and focuses on two teenagers, Faye, who is a switchboard operator for the town, and Everett, who is a radio host. We begin the film with the two of them leaving the local school gym, where everybody else came to see a basketball game. Everybody except these two, because they are going to work. Not long after the game begins, Faye experiences a strange disturbance to the radio show that she's listening to, and that turns out to be an unusual radio frequency that is filled by these strange, ominous sounds. Together with Everett, they try to coordinate, and they put those sounds on the air to ask the listeners of the radio if they can identify it. And soon they get on the trail of this mystery that may or may not involve aliens and spaceships. Now, this type of story with this particular setting may seem familiar, and for good reason. The film was heavily inspired by War of the Worlds, the original radio broadcast by Orson Welles, that managed to convince hundreds, if not thousands, of people that aliens were in fact attacking the US. And when I say heavily inspired, I mean that the film is a huge love letter to War of the Worlds, to the medium of radio, and to the long gone times where radio was the most advanced form of media and communication. Now, there have been several film and TV adaptations of War of the Worlds, but I think this manages to stand on its own two feet. The primary reason is because of how it approaches storytelling. Most of the other adaptations just moved the story into the different medium, into the medium of film, and then told it as it would be told if it was written for the screen, using the filmmaking tools unavailable for radio, like obviously image. But The Vast of Night, despite being a film, actually heavily resembles a radio broadcast itself, and a large part of narration is done in the same way as it would have been done on the radio, with people talking, relaying stories, and with strange sound effects. Now, this may seem very uncinematic, but somehow the movie manages to accomplish the difficult job of staying engaging and engrossing throughout. I was invested in the characters all the time. I think the central pair are very well written. At times you almost forget that they are teenagers because they don't really behave like movie teenagers. They seem like well-adjusted adults. They're both smart and capable, and with their different skill set they create a really good combination. I think this atmosphere of unknown and unverifiable really is maintained very well, and there were two scenes towards the end especially where I just had my hair stand up straight on my neck and arms. Unbelievably chilling stuff. Chilling in a satisfying way. In purely technical terms, the music and sound design are gorgeous, and despite what I said about the movie behaving like a radio broadcast, it is actually shot quite nicely too. There are multiple longer takes in the film, like with Faye at the switchboard that goes for like 9 minutes or so without cuts. And there's also one really great transition where the camera leaves Faye and goes across town through the basketball game and then to the radio where Everett is, also without interruptions. Just brilliant stuff. But the thing I appreciated most, I think, is how the film reinvigorates the art of storytelling, of verbal storytelling. There are a few instances here of the story being pushed forward by someone just talking, describing stuff, telling their story. And normally that's a filmmaking trap. You want to show, not tell. But here it was deliberately done this way and executed so well that you're not bored, you're completely into it. You're listening to those stories, which is a form of narration that I personally love. And I'm not speaking now purely about cinema, but generally in life, I think storytelling is a skill and maybe even a form of art that I feel nowadays may be getting somewhat lost in the age of shorter and snappier conversations. The ability to sit down and just tell a story for several minutes straight, and on the other side to listen to that story, and to tell this story in such a way that's interesting and engaging is, it's all the more appreciated. And that is the key thing that The Vast of Night does. So, as I said in the beginning, it's a film that is an answer, a love letter to a certain medium and time. It doesn't come out of nowhere, but rather builds heavily on what was once popular. But in this case, the execution is absolutely fantastic, and the film ends up being just as good as the things it was inspired by. Definitely recommend.